Welcome to this Anfield Wrap show. My name is Neil Atkinson and I'll be hosting this show in a minute, almost certainly, if you're listening stroke watching this on YouTube. The Anfield Wrap free show is one of the shows that we do on a weekly basis through the Anfield Wrap. We've also got 11, 12, sometimes even 13 of them that we do as subscriber shows. It's only £5 a month. If you like this sort of thing and you feel as though you've got the time or the inclination to hear much more jokes, more fun, more tactical analysis, more looks into Liverpool's history, to the background and the culture of Liverpool Football Club, then please click to subscribe at theanfieldwrap.com. £5 a month, as I say, and there's no obligation beyond that first £5 if you just want to have a little listen. We get some great interviews sometimes as well. But before we go any further, before you even go through that process, have a listen to this here. This is us talking about the latest match. It's the Anfield Wrap after Liverpool beat Sunderland by 2-0. Neil Atkinson, Paul Cope, John Gibbons and Craig Hannan with you for the next hour or so to talk about that performance from the Reds and some other stuff as well. We're going to talk about the Rainbow Laces stuff. We're not going to do the front to back. We did it a bit different than last week, as you might have noticed, and we're going to keep going down that path, and of course there'll be an opening question. But before then, John Gibbons, it felt like a bit. I was buzzing more than I was after putting 6 past Hull and 6 past Watford. It felt like an enormous victory for Liverpool. They found a way.
Yeah, you're right. I think I was buzzing more than I was after those hammerings as well, which is quite unusual. But you were thinking sort of when we got to 45-60, you were thinking, well, this feels like a new test for this team. You know, you need to find a way to win if you want to be winning championships or at least competing for them. They need to find a way to win this game, and then the fact that they did, you know, was a real boost. The fact that it comes off the bench as well, I think, is a nice thing, because it's another guy who looks like he wants to contribute for Liverpool Football Club this season, which is great. And so, and it meant a lot to the players, and I think how they played it when they were 1-0 up, I was really impressed with as well. And so that showed a new side to this football team as well. So yeah, lots of positives from yesterday.
There's tons and tons of positives, Paul. But the main one is getting the 3 points, and we'll have a chat about how we ended up getting them across the course of the show. But just simply that Sunderland had tried to do something even different to the way United approached it. They had, and as I was saying before the game, in Anichebe, they had a planned out ball, which a few sides, I think Watford for instance, didn't entirely have that nailed on because they weren't used to it, whereas that's the way Sunderland play anyway. That they're more defensive against Liverpool. They've been very defensive anyway these last 4 or 5 weeks, so it's, you know, that they go even more intensely defensive. Well, yeah, but Liverpool got the ball over the line as soon as they made it 1-0. As John says, they shut the game down very, very intelligently and got a deserved second, could even have got a deserved third.
Yeah, and I think we're all excited about that result, and we were buzzing so much after it, because I think we've all probably been thinking that that's something this team needed to show. It's all well and good scoring 5 goals in an hour or whatever, and it always makes me laugh out as humans that we don't enjoy that as much as a last minute winner. Just naturally, the tension that builds up. And I've said for a while, the one thing this team is yet to face is that Man United test of getting to the 94th minute and I've just worn down a team, and that's when you score your winner, and that's when you all go off your heads. That yesterday was as close as we've come to that, I think, and it was. And do you know what? I don't think it was that good a performance, generally speaking. So the fact that we still found a way to win is massively encouraging.
The goal itself, Craig, it's a lovely finish, and I think it's worth. You know, it's worth emphasising that he passes it gorgeous into the corner. It's as though he's seen that the keeper's come over maybe a couple of steps too far, and he just the angle opens up for him, and I think he almost slightly catches the goalkeeper by surprise as well. In essence, the only way he can sort of get it to where he gets it is by putting it there. I know that sounds like a ridiculous statement. What I'm saying is that it was a bit of a threading it through the eye of a needle to get it all the way around, but by virtue of the fact that he does that and he almost uses the other players as a marker, it ends up going into the corner. And I think it's a great goal. I think it's a significant goal, not just for Liverpool's season, but also for Origi in the context of Sturridge with a little bit of an injury, Coutinho going off, and it opens up a path for him, as John says as well.
Yeah, it's been a long way back for Origi. I think there was a while where there was a run of games and Origi was the club's first choice, and then up until the Merseyside derby where he was injured, and he came back right at the end. But I was delighted for him, really, and like I said, it was a great goal. It was muscle memory, because he did exactly the same thing against Stoke last season. I think he did something similar
pre-season as well.
Pre-season at Roma, yeah. So it was muscle memory, and it's just that little drop of the shoulder, the little flick, and yeah, exactly as you said, he had to put it there, and I think it's just that sort of corridor of uncertainty that he just put it right at the point where it bounces in front of the keeper and makes it very, very difficult for him. But yeah, hopefully he pushes on, and I think that's a massive positive that a player like Philippe Coutinho can go off, and we can bring on someone like Origi when Lallana and Sturridge are injured, and have him come in and do the business for us.
They're saying that we'll know about Coutinho's ankle injury in the next 24 hours, John. I think it was between that and the fact that Sturridge doesn't start, no Lallana. I mean, it's actually a sort of a salient reminder of, you need a squad. We're going to need a squad to do this. If we're going to do this and we look like we're not going anywhere, we look like that we're going to be in there till the bitter end, whichever way it ends up going. But you need a squad in order to be able to compete at this level and stay at this level.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, you're only ever a couple of injuries away from having a look, and suddenly it's not looking too clever. I mean, it was brilliant to see Ben Woodburn get on yesterday, and he got a great reception and threw in a bit of a tackle, and everyone enjoyed it. But he's just turned 17, and I'm sure, our club's got faith in young players, and everyone in the club thinks very highly of him. But I don't think that if it's getting to April and we're in a title challenge, which is what we all want, then he's not someone who you necessarily want to be relying on. It's not fair on him, really. He's looking to develop as a player, and so it was quite interesting to see that yesterday, that kind of suddenly going from saying, oh, our bench is always great, to suddenly, well, there's a couple of young lads on there, and have we got the kind of game changers there? So I think he might, the Coutinho situation might push him into something in January, but I think they might have done it anyway.
I think they would have done it anyway. I don't think there's, whatever happens either way with Coutinho, I think it's going to happen anyway, because, not least because, and I think it's clear again, the manager still hasn't really properly said league title, Paul, but the manager is clearly very much thinking league title, and not just him as well, but I think it's noticeable in the senior players, Milner, Henderson. They've got the look of lads who know exactly what this means and exactly what this is about. But when you look across that pitch yesterday, it did feel like it's a football team who are very focused on one thing and one thing only now.
Well, the reality is you're already in a title challenge. If you get to this stage of the season and you are where you are, then you'd be daft not to be thinking you're in with a shout, because that's the whole point, isn't it? It's these individual sections of seasons, and it actually always makes me laugh when you get, and you do, we all do it. You all twist the stats depending on how you want to view them. But you'll get like an Evertonian said to me a few weeks ago, they were like 5 points behind you. You think you've had a great start of the season, and we haven't, and we're only 5 points behind you. And I went, yeah, but we've only played like 8 games, and we're 5 points ahead of you. So the way the season works is you extrapolate that out, and we finish 20 points ahead of you. That's literally the way it works. If you go carry on your form, so you want to start the season the way we have, and that inevitably means you're in a title challenge. I think the big thing for me is with the injuries. I've been saying for a few weeks now, if it did come down to between us and Chelsea, the deciding factor will be probably who gets the fewest injuries. Because I was looking at it thinking, well, if they get Costa or Hazard picking up a knock, they're in trouble. Look at Spurs. Kane gets injured. They don't really have a replacement. And since I said that a couple of weeks ago, we've had Lallana, Sturridge and Coutinho now. And all of a sudden even Klopp sort of referenced it post-match. He got asked the question, like, oh, it's good to have a squad. And he even said, I haven't really got options though, have I? I've got options for other things there. But once I've brought Origi on, I've got no real options there to change it. And that's massive. As John says, that's with 3 injuries, and all of a sudden you're looking at our bench going, well, now Origi's come on, how do we change this game if we need to with half an hour left? And you're trying to do mad stuff in your head then, thinking, well, if we bring Moreno on, or if we bring on Lucas as a centre-back, or do all these but you're not going, well, we can bring on a boss centre-forward, we can bring on a boss winger. And that's the tricky thing in a title challenge here.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that, and I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of player they go for in January as well, and what kind of player will it be. Someone who can play in all 3 positions, like say Firmino, or would he go for a bit more of a specialist? He's talked a lot about wingers since he's come in, and the fact that he hasn't really had any. And I think you might go for someone who's maybe a bit Mane-like, or maybe for the other side. I know Pulisic is one he obviously really likes as well, and that's the kind of obvious name from the links. But I think I'd be surprised if he goes for an out-and-out centre forward, and what would maybe makes sense is somebody can play in all three, but I think he'll go for the wide man. I think personally, and I think he'll just feel like that gives him another option and another way to play, and another way to play if he needs to change things or if things need to be done differently.
I think if he brings in a wide man, then I think he can sort of think to himself, well, I've got three lads who I'm happy playing at number 9, and they're Origi, Firmino and Sturridge. I've got three lads who I'm really happy to see there, whereas that gives me the option, the flexibility to go, right, so therefore Firmino, that's what you're going to do, you're just going to do that for me if that becomes a problem. So I think you're right, John. I think that's exactly what he'll do. And Craig, it is this a game with knock-on effects, I think, in every single sense. It's the knock-on effect of thinking about the squad, it's the knock-on effect of thinking about the fact that we've kept pace at the top of the table, it's the knock-on effect of seeing us grind one out, which I think has got as the thing that's got everyone excited. Every single one of these hurdles that you climb makes the next hurdle feel even more significant. That's Bournemouth away now for us in the league, and that's the essence of when you know you're in a real thing and it's only November.
Yeah, like if you look at the games that we've won this season, Arsenal aside, we usually score before the 20th minute, and yesterday was different, and we had to grind it out, and we had to persevere, and you can see the belief in the team and the belief in what they're being asked to do, because they just continued to turn the screw, and you felt it was coming. On the 50th minute, I turned to my dad and I said, the goal's coming soon. Got to the 60th minute, I said exactly the same. And it was coming up to the 70th, and I was starting to question myself and thinking, is it going to be one of these days? And that's when Origi gets a goal. But yeah, that's another obstacle that we'd find difficult to overcome in the past, that we've now achieved, and that gives us fresh confidence going into the next game.
Is the thinking about the way in which the game sort of pans out, John, is the more that we can take from it than just the things that Liverpool can learn, positive things from the game in terms of, listen, Sunderland's not the last team we're going to come to Anfield and try and do this. What can we do a little bit differently? What can we do a little bit better?
I'm sure they'll be looking at videos and looking at ways we can improve. I thought our passing wasn't quite as quick as it has been. I just didn't think there was quite that snap in our play. Yeah, this season the team's been all about rhythm, and it's been all about getting going, and they haven't been fast started, but they've generally got into the rhythm, and then you've seen these fast kind of combinations, and they never quite came. I think even before Coutinho's injury, I thought, we just weren't quite at it, and then I think that did have an impact in terms of, it's a psychological impact, because they're all like, oh, I hope he's okay, kind of thing, what I mean? It does kind of play on the minds, I'm sure, and I actually thought we started the second half actually pretty well, and I agree with Craig on about 55. I thought we'd had a good 10, and I thought it was coming then, but just in terms of what they can learn, I think they'll be watching videos, but I think as much as what you can learn, it's just what you can tell yourself as players, and I think next time we're in that situation, they'll think, well, we scored last time. Yeah. And I think that's not something you necessarily learn as such. That's just something that's in your mind, and I think if that would have been another 0-0, that would have been the third one, and it starts to play on your mind. I think then you get 65 and you think, oh, is this another one of those? Whereas now, hopefully, if we're in this situation again, they're thinking back to this game rather than the Manchester United one, and thinking, well, remember we got that goal, so we just need to keep pushing, and it was a goal of will almost, wasn't it? Really, as much as anything, really, it was a goal of, keep banging on the door and eventually something will happen for you, and I think that's kind of a positive thing that can hopefully come out of it.
There's something in something that Sean said on a couple of the shows we've done with him, Paul, where he actually referenced after Southampton, it was the third time in 12 games Liverpool had failed to score. Yeah. And that whilst Liverpool is scoring a lot of goals, that it's a ratio that you want to see dropped, and I think that's what John's driving at there. If that had become 4 in 13, then that feels that then to use your point of extrapolating out, so you're looking at 8 after 26. Because if you are, then I struggle to see how we keep the pace up. Yeah. It means that almost every time we score, we've got to go on and win a football match without exception. That's what we got. If that's the case, so it is important, isn't it, to sort of have that to wherever possible. Obviously, it seems like an obvious thing to say, but to say that this doesn't need to be a problem for us. We can, without quite hitting the rhythm, without quite hitting our stride, being 100%, as John says, snapping into it, we can still do the business anyway.
Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about that while I was watching the match yesterday, thinking about what Sean was saying, and I know it was interesting for me as well after the article I did for the site last week about the psychology of what's going on, because that yesterday for me was another step on the sort of Jurgen Klopp journey of playing mind games with everybody and taking us down this path. Not just the players, but the supporters. And his his contribution on the 60th minute or whenever it was, when he basically said to the crowd, we're not having this, lads. We're not going to let this turn into a game where you just kept increasingly frustrated with the players so they can't do what they need to do. You sort your side out, and then I'll sort these lads out. And what you end up with then is exactly what John's saying. You've then got another step in the positive psychology that he's building, which is this is what happens. So instead of sitting here on 60 thinking, oh, it's just one of those days again, where we just keep missing that chance, where the ball just flashes across goal, and we've all been there for so many years, where you all turn to each other and go, just one of those days again, isn't it, lads? What he's doing is he's turning just one of those days into we'll score.
It works.
Just one of those days is we score.
It works both ways as well, because when Klopp first come in, teams were coming to Anfield and believing that they can give us, they can get at us, and they can come away from Anfield with at least 1 point. And on occasions they did, the likes of Palace come there and beat us, and Southampton are able to score right at the end to get a point off us. But now there is a shift in mentality. Teams are coming to Anfield and they're scared, and even teams, you saw against Southampton last week at home, teams are scared. They're happy just to sit back and soak up pressure and try to grind out a draw. So I think that there's the positive mentality that's instilled within us and within the fans and within the whole club at the moment. But it's also that little bit seed of doubt in the opposition now when they're coming to Anfield.
Yeah, definitely, and it's all positives, and I'm just thinking of the match winner as well, and I think that's something that I think could be a positive out of it. Really, I think sometimes we've seen it with a lot of Liverpool sides in the past, and a little bit with this one. If it's 10 to go, you think, oh well, who's going to get me out of it? And then almost passing to the fella rather than the shirt, if you know what I mean, and not picking the best option because you just want to get it to Coutinho, for example, or years ago it was Gerrard or Suarez or whoever it is you want to say. You're just always looking for that one because he's your match winner, and it can get frustrating watching that sometimes because you're thinking, well, there's 11 lads out there, and if you haven't got faith in all of them, then you may as well just attack with 2. And attacking with 6 or 7 is just much better than attacking with 2. And so I think having another fella who's put his hand up and go, well, I've won a game for us there, and and Manny with his burst as well, he can say that, and just kind of feels a positive to me then, and it feels like next time we're in that position, keep going back to that, next time we're in that position, rather than just saying, well, it's Phil who's going to get us out of this. It's well, actually, Divock Origi did that thing, so and then well, Manny, he got the burst through and won the penalty and things like that, and so I think the more match winners, the better, really, just in terms of how the other footballers look at each other and how much faith they have in each other. Because as I say, if you can attack with 6 or 7, it's just much better than just feeling as a team that we're reliant on 1 or 2.
Okay, a very quick opening question because I like it, and also we had the first rendition this year of Feed the Scousers at Anfield, coming from that left wing economic powerhouse that is Sunderland. There is a point, lads, where I'm absolutely exhausted with this stuff. We should all surely be, broadly speaking, on the same side. I've always felt on the same side towards Sunderland, but seemingly all that sort of stuff's just obviously banter these days. So Mark Foster says this: Paul Cope, when should you put your Christmas tree up?
Oh, but funny question to ask me, because there have been times when I haven't, because it's got so late. I've thought I just can't be bothered. I'll just have to put it away again next week. I'm always I'm at that age now where I'm trying to balance being happy it's Christmas and not too miserable in the build up. So for example, I think it's way too early now. I would generally say the first week of December is plenty to get all of your Christmas cheer in. So from there to the 25th is ample. We wouldn't have a bigger build-up than that for most events. So I don't think we need to do overkill. So when you're walking through town and there's Christmas decorations up on the 1st of November or whatever it was, I just think that's overkill. It's too much.
John?
Yeah, I'm actually playing at the turning on of the Formby Christmas lights.
Oh. Today?
Today, when? Yeah.
Am I cool?
Yeah, should. Yeah.
Was it my invite to that lost in the post, was it?
It's not my event.
It's not how it works, Craig.
You meant to invite me to everything.
Has Formby invited everyone? No, Craig Hannan's not got his. Fuck's sake.
I'm just a talent, mate, you know what I mean? I'm not responsible for any admin. So I'm doing that. So I feel like my Christmas starts today. I play a lot of Trumpets of Christmas.
It's dead funny. It's dead funny trying to pin you down to anything in December.
Yeah. I can give you the Monday on the 22nd or something like that. So my Christmas starts today, I think. But in terms of my tree, I'm normally it feels like a Saturday, maybe the second Saturday.
The 10th, Saturday the 10th this year.
That feels like
sounds
a good
about
one
right.
to me. That feels like a good one.
For us, it's our David's birthday on the 16th of December, so we've
Right,
always
yeah.
not wanted to do Christmas before David's birthday.
Yeah.
You know, he's my younger brother and all that. And I sort of quite like that. I like the fact that, so for us, I'm looking at the calendar now, and it'll be Saturday the 17th of my mum's. That's when she'll make the big move, go and get the tree. It'll be a nice day, Saturday the 17th, and that feels, it feels like ample time, really, I think.
I'm happy with that.
Anyway, Craig.
I love Christmas, and when living at home, I was always at my mum and dad to get the tree up right at the start of December. 1st of December, I wanted the tree up, but now that I'm actually adulting myself and having to go out and get
Adulting. I saw Craig Hannan last night. He was doing an excellent bit of adulting.
But now I have to actually go out and get the tree and then put the tree up and put all the decorations on it. I feel like it could be quite a bit later this year, so I'd probably say a couple of weeks into December by the time I get myself to go and get the actual tree.
By the time you get yourself together, okay. I want to talk about the manager with the crowd. There was lots of talk last night, and everyone came to say hello where we were. Really nice to speak to you. And there was a couple of people who sort of heard bits and pieces. And the talk is he was shouting at either a section or just one person in the main to start with about. It was after, I think, Henderson had passed the ball backwards towards the goalkeeper, and there was there were murmurs, and he turns around and he's screaming at him, something along the lines of, supposedly he started screaming, be fucking positive, and then just kept shouting it, and was genuinely angry. I mean, I think this is the thing, John. It was one of the things that when you look back at the photographs or the clips of it this morning, he's fuming. I mean, he really he's putting a bit of stick about there. He's not messing about. He wants, he wanted that feeling that it's a cauldron of noise willing them home over the last half an hour. And to be fair, he broadly speaking got the reaction he wanted, but
he massively got the reaction he wanted. I don't know about this instance shouting at this fella. I'm on board with it. He's just going to start on our crowd one fella at a time. I'm into that.
Ben John has been doing it for years.
Yeah, he was doing it on his way home last night, wasn't he? Bless him. The incident I saw was Henderson blams one into the cop, doesn't he? And it's a ridiculously overhit pass where you're not quite sure what he is trying to do, and then Klopp just went, I'm just not having this, and it was a natural moment to groan because it was a poor piece of play, but he just went, I'm not having it, and just went, but the crowd did respond. But I thought it was dead funny that as soon as the crowd get going, then Joe Matip blams one out for the corner under no pressure, and you're like, oh, you're not doing this much good here, mate. Come on, Joel, play the game. He was very good apart from that, but the reaction to that one wasn't the same because we were all like, oh, okay, well, we're doing this now, and I think it's funny how crowds work like that. It's funny how crowds just need sometimes a spark, and it's okay, we're all doing this, and we're not doing that thing anymore, we're doing this thing, and it was a big moment, and I felt it was a big moment in the game. I know a few people afterwards saying, Klopp won the game for us today, and I'm not sure it was quite that because there was a gap between the kind of
and the footballers still got to stick it in the goal from 18 yards out at a mad angle.
But it was a big moment, and I'm pleased that the crowd reacted in the right way to kind of a bit of a telling off, really, because they could go, oh, who's this Divvy, you know what I mean? But they don't. They go, do you know what? Because he's right. Everyone kind of responds in a positive way, and it was a good sort of 5-10 minutes, and then generally I thought that the crowd were pretty positive from there on.
I don't think we should. I don't think it's possible to underplay how big a moment that was in our season. And maybe not even in our season, in the next however many years he's our manager for. Because I think it is part of this, him building up. And it's almost like he's our coach as well. He's the players' coach. Because he wasn't happy with our fans last season against West Brom at home or whoever it was, or Palace. But he didn't choose that moment to go absolutely mad at the main stand. He's built up. So he knows he's doing that now from a position of, everyone likes him, everyone respects him. He's got these lads playing in a certain way. So now he's able to do that in a match situation on the 60th minute. And look, I said this before, but we've all been in that ground. We've been going to that ground for a long time now. And without his intervention yesterday, that atmosphere only goes in one direction. Because it's already getting to that everyone's on the players' backs for every misplaced pass. And I've said for years, you can talk about wanting to be a professional footballer and playing at Anfield and all that. I wouldn't want to play in that atmosphere. It's not nice at all. I used to say to people, this is going back to Jamie Redknapp's days, and I was only a kid then. I remember saying, you think that would help you control a pass? Do you think that would help you pick your next pass and make it a good pass? Having 40,000 fellas screaming at you and booing or hissing or whatever, or sighing every time.
It's that grown.
The answer to that is no, it doesn't help. It wouldn't help any of us in our day-to-day jobs. So his intervention there, I think is absolutely amazing. And the way me and Adam Mealy were talking about it on the way after the game, it's crazy actually when you stop and think about it. The way he's already in our head so much that he can do that. And as John's saying, this is, what is it now, 50,000 of our fans, 51,000 of our fans. And it did. The crowd completely changed. But for that to happen, the work he's done up to this point shouldn't go unnoticed either.
Yeah, he excuse me. Against United a few weeks back, I remember the crowd was edgy and nervy, and that translates onto the pitch, and it ends in 0-0, and we don't get the winner, and I think it could have easily gone that way yesterday. And like Paul said, I think the significance of that of what Klopp did shouldn't be underplayed. I think the atmosphere from it was around, I think, the 65th minute that he did it, and from there on in it was it was all pretty positive, and like John said there, it was funny because he did it, and from where I'm sat at the back of the Kop, and I saw him do it, and I thought it was just the usual, because he's done that quite a few times before, and it just looked like the usual where he's looking at the crowd and trying to get them up. But watching back in the video, his face, it's anger, it's proper anger. He's actually calling them out. But yeah, it was funny that he did that, and then 2 seconds later it goes out for a corner, and I was thinking, you know what happens if they go and score here, and he's just tried this. But no, I think it was a big moment, and just, Klopp standing within the club and within our fan base now means he's able to do that, where previously other managers would not have been able to get away with that sort of thing.
Sorry, we have got to mention this, because I was laughing my head off last night at Gibbo, because he just kept raising it, and I was saying the same thing. The impact this manager has had is so great that as he's doing that, Matip can just put one out for a corner and everyone just sort of forgets it and just gets on with the making the atmosphere better. But also in that same game, our goalie kicked the goal kick out for
honestly,
the corner.
right, I was going to do 10 minutes on this, Paul.
There's not enough people talking about it.
Gibbo kept mentioning it in our WhatsApp group, and when I saw him in the pub after the match, I was like, I made up he kept mentioning it, because I can't believe. But this is the power of Klopp. And you can. I'm sick of doing that. I was saying last night, Karius' name is in danger of becoming, if that was Mignolet. So we need to stop saying that, because forget Mignolet. If it was anybody else with any other manager and he kicked the goal kick out for the corner, he'd have been lynched.
Yeah.
But the power of this manager is everyone in the ground just goes, oh well.
Honestly, I'm going to do the if that was Mignolet thing. If that was Mignolet, I think the game would have ended up being postponed.
There would have been people run on the pitch. There would have.
In front of the Kop. He does that in front of the Kop. I reckon there's at least 20 fellas who are going to try and get on the pitch to absolutely batter him.
100%.
It would have, the extent to which it would have gone off. And at the time, I was like, this is outrageous.
It's dead hard what he's done there.
But we were saying as well, like, if he twists his foot like another half an inch, that could go in his own goal. That's not beyond the realms of possibility.
And then the ref's got to try and figure out.
There's a decision there, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the rules on that one. It might actually be, because I was obviously Phil Blundell knows these things. He actually says that if he'd managed to do it inside the area,
it's a retake.
It's a retake.
Dad knew that.
And your dad was right, which is mad, isn't it?
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, he went, I was like,
how does that work? Yeah.
I know he's refed a few games in school or something, so maybe
that happened a lot.
Had a mad keeper.
It's unreal, John. It is unbelievable.
So bearing in mind, it had to go out the area, but also out for a corner. That is quite hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'd need a few goes.
With the inside, but he did it with the inside of his foot.
Yeah.
We're actually all. Did he get extra on the match ratings for this? Because we're all dead impressed by what he's been able to do.
It was absolute. Yeah. Oh, it was absolutely.
He's got nice hair.
Oh, yeah. I'm banging into that.
It's a bit long for me. I'd get a cut a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, very honest of you there, Craig.
Take it.
I hope he's listening, to be honest with you, to all of this. But it is important to be able to shrug these things off and laugh at them. And I think that's a nice change, is the idea that I think, John, in general, it's tipping this line between the anxiety of what we want the football team to do. And I think this is the manager's the difficulty, not just for the manager, for all of us in terms of looking after ourselves. We've got this idea of what we want the football team to do, and it's quite clear what we want the football team to do. It's keep going, keep winning, and lift the shiny thing in May. It's that straightforward, and that's, it's anxious, and I was anxious against Southampton. I was anxious yesterday because you want it so much, but then you've got to simultaneously find the path through to enjoying it. And I'd like to think that, for instance, and from the way Klopp's been in the past, even with Mignolet, for instance, you've got the impression that he's probably taking the piss out of Karius, something rotten for that. Now that we're at 2-0, and we've all got to be able to laugh at these things and go through all that. But we've got to enjoy this. We've got to enjoy these. We've got to enjoy going to watch football matches. We've got to enjoy going to Anfield, because that's the challenge almost now, is just being able to cut loose and go, let's have as good a time as humanly possible. But that's not easy though.
No, it's not, because, as you say, the prize is so great, and they'll all be thinking it's possible this season. Tension doesn't help you, Paul's talking about the crowd and how they can not help, but generally, if a player's going into it just tense anyway, and then they're not going to play to the full of their ability, and I think that's where Klopp is. Well, I'd say where's a good manager? He's a good manager in loads of ways, obviously, but I think you're completely right. I think he would have given him a slap round the head and go, what on earth was that? You know what I mean? It won't be like a bollocking, it'll be like, bloody hell.
How did you do it?
Yeah.
It won't be that.
Yeah. I'd like to know what their WhatsApp group's like.
Won't be as bad as ours.
Just loads of gifts. Probably not as many eggs.
No, we could join him. We could help with that. The point you're making about Klopp, he actually did it to Klein, didn't he? In the post-match interviews after Southampton, when they mentioned Klein's header, he didn't go, I know, yeah, I mean, he should have scored that. He was laughing his head off. He was going, Klein, it's funny that, isn't it, with Klein? He can't head it. He can't score. He's the only one who hasn't scored, lads, he's rubbish.
But he's done that quite often, hasn't he? Like, you remember last season when Lucas tries that one against Everton, and he just laughs at him, like, hysterically laughs at him. It's almost like he brushes it off. It's a bit of a joke. Don't worry about it, lads. It doesn't matter now.
Definitely.
And even Lucas's mistake against Leicester, he walks on the pitch and he slaps Lucas on the head and laughs, and it's just like, it doesn't matter, lads, just brush it off.
Yeah, keep playing football, and that's the aim. And I think that's what he wants. He wants this idea of, they're going to try stuff and it's not going to work, and that's all right, because loads of things don't work because it's football. That's literally how it works. You try stuff and it doesn't work, but you've got to keep trying it. 'Cause if you don't keep trying it, you can't win.
Well, this is the point of all the people in the crowd who have got this opinion. I'm going to turn into one of those people who does everyone's head in around me, because I'm just shouting constantly during the game, just keep playing. Because what I'm trying to do is get enough people to say to the crowd, to the players, just keep playing, to drown out the people who are shouting shoot every time we've got the ball 30 yards out to Dejan Lovren. And when people do that, I honestly lose my head. You're like, no lads, we don't want our centre-back shooting from 30 yards. That's not the game.
But it was actually quite interesting. There was an interview with Gini Wijnaldum in the week there, and I don't know who it was. I think it was The Guardian, and he basically talked.
Came across really well.
Yeah, he came across really well, and it was an interesting insight into how Klopp works and how he treats his players. Because Wijnaldum said he doesn't actually get angry after games because the game's gone. And he'll analyse it and he'll speak to the players about what they should change and what they can improve on. But he doesn't get angry with them. And he says the only time he gets angry with them is if it's something he knows that they haven't done that they're really good at. So an example he used, that if Sadio Mane doesn't take on a defender, doesn't use his pace, he'll shout at him, because the point of Sadio Mane is to beat a man. So it's quite interesting. That it's a good interview to have a look at.
Okay, on that, let's start talking about Wijnaldum. I thought Wijnaldum and Chan. John, I think that when you were talking before about moving the ball quickly, it felt like, and maybe I'm wrong and maybe it's harsh, and the manager used them differently throughout the game. They actually, at second half, they're wider and then actually more advanced at times than Firmino, who's dropping in more and more. But I felt they were where we were having a little bit of an issue in terms of shifting the ball quickly.
I don't know. I thought it was a team. It was a team problem, really, although I suppose maybe do you get your tempo for your centre midfield? I'm not sure. I think Wijnaldum, he's got lovely use of space. He's got one of the lads was talking last night on the WhatsApp group again about how he lets it roll across him, and he's got a good understanding of where everyone is on the pitch, and I think he moves the ball well. With Chan, it's just decision making for me sometimes. I think people say he takes too many touches and things like that, and maybe sometimes he does, but sometimes he just does something on the football pitch and you just feel like going, hang on, let's all stop a minute. What was your plan there?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Where are you thinking? Or is it just that, I don't know what to do, so I'll chip it in the box? And these mad chips into the goalie's arms, where you think, well, well, what was the best case scenario there anyway? Because Firmino's on his own up there, and the fella's massive next to him. And what are we trying to do here? And it's like you think about the Lovren, Paul, which is this isn't the game. I feel like saying that to Shan sometimes. This isn't what we do. And so it's frustrating. But I mean, generally, I thought he was okay. But I didn't think anyone played badly. I just thought generally, our tempo wasn't quite there, and it was. Sometimes you just felt that they were kind of going away from what it is that this Liverpool side does well.
I've often talked about this in the game with the lads I go with those passes you're talking about with Chan. I always think, even if you get it to the lad you're trying to pass it to, what do you want him to do with it then? Take him on his chest and score an overhead kick? You're just trying to make it too hard. But the other thing in defence of Chan I said in the match yesterday was, everyone forgets how young he is. Yeah. And for any player playing in that intense atmosphere where everyone's on your back, that's why the crowd is so important. If he's got the ball 30 yards out and the crowd's going, do something with it, pass it forward. There was a lad behind me who I kicked off on because he just kept shouting, pass it forward. And I hate that. There's only so many times you can pass forward before it just goes out for the goal.
We're out of pitch, yeah.
You literally run out of space. And it was as if Chan's hearing that and just thinking, I best just chip it into the box then. And it wasn't just Chan yesterday. I think Henderson was great defensively, but I thought he was poor in an attacking sense because there was loads of... Milner was doing it as well. There was loads of just lash it in the box. I'll just put it in from here and see what happens.
First half,
which
we put a mad number of crosses in, I thought, first half. Second half, I think that clearly something had been said at half time because they stopped doing it. They do it less.
And I think what you're saying about Firmino, as we were watching the period in the second half where we were getting better, Firmino was more involved. He was dropping in more and he was doing more link play and he was creating space.
And he was showing patience.
Yeah, which is massively important. And I think we talked about this with Sean on the Tuesday review last week. With that midfield three, it makes it difficult to play how we want to play, I think, because if you've got Chan or Wijnaldum with Coutinho or Lallana either side, it creates a different... I keep using the word dynamic last week in the show, but that's the best word for it. When you've got both Chan and Wijnaldum, I think that's where you get the lack of... It's not physical pace, it's pace moving the ball, because they're both sort of doing similar things, and you've got no one doing that thing that Lallana does, which is... I was laughing to myself on the train and kept thinking about half turns and half spaces. And I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking about my granddads, and if my granddad was still around, he'd be like, "What are you talking about? What is a half space?" But you can see the difference Lallana makes against those teams who are just going to sit, because he moves it so quickly and he turns quickly and he'll do something in one pass. That I think that's what we really missed yesterday. Actually, was 1 and 2 touch football. But the problem you can only do 1 and 2 touch football if your movement's really good, and there was loads of times when the movement just wasn't that good. I thought
I was actually impressed with Wijnaldum yesterday. I thought he always seems to have space, and he seems to be a very intelligent footballer. I was unsure when we signed him. I was unsure why we might be signing him, and you can see whenever he slots into that midfield how athletic he is and how powerful. I think there was twice yesterday where he keeps the ball and it's just through sheer strength in the centre midfield. And I think it was Phil Blundell in the WhatsApp group yesterday who compared him to maybe having a Joe Allen in the midfield, and that he's a similar player to that, except he's very athletic and and a lot stronger. And you can maybe see why. Why he was brought in to do that role. But yeah, no, I thought Wijnaldum was impressive yesterday.
There is the other one. I was intrigued there that you actually criticised him a little bit. In fact, no, I'm not. I agree with it in terms of in the first half sense, but I thought the other player who showed massive patience and is constantly available and falls into the category of trusted by his teammates, and I think this is an interesting comparison actually to the right back, is Milner. That he's constantly showing for space, he's constantly being involved there. You can maybe say he obviously wants to bring it back onto his right a little bit, but he's able to get past his man, he's able to beat his man, and he's able just to be trusted in the half spaces by his teammates. Get it to James, be fine. The worst that happens is it just gets recycled back into midfield. I was actually thinking yesterday, because when you're looking at the bench and you think, well, what can we do to change this? And I was thinking at one point if there's a Moreno move, but then when everyone's heads started going, I thought, well, it's not a great atmosphere to throw Moreno into when everyone's head's going. But I was thinking, like, everyone's sort of forgotten James Milner's a centre midfielder as well. So I agree with what you're saying. I think first half, I don't know why he was just sort of lashing balls into the box for some reason, but he is one of those players who, in those situations, that's why Klopp wants him in this team, because he's got the experience, he's got the old head, he knows that you just keep playing and you keep playing. But actually I was thinking, well,
there could be a move here where you get him more involved in the game by getting him into midfield and in and around the box more, and bringing on Moreno and having his pace and a lot of width on that side. But I think Milner probably falls into the same category as everybody or most players on the pitch yesterday, which is did all right, but wasn't really at the races as much as it just wasn't clicking between them all as in the way it has in the past, which I think sort of Klopp referenced in a couple of weeks ago. And I think it's almost more important that you win games when you're playing like that, because you're not going to play like Barcelona. Don't play like Barcelona every week. There are games when it just doesn't come off the way it's meant to. And when you're playing like you do against Watford, that's the pinnacle. That is what you're aiming to do. But we all have to accept that that's not going to be every week, especially when you're getting injuries and people dropping out the team and stuff, and new faces coming in.
It's the other thing as well. I think you take from this one is the experience side of it, Craig. That Milner's. He's gone through this. He's played for a side that's won a league title. He's gone through the process of what it takes, and I thought that was one of the other things. I thought as the game wore on, he got better and got more patient. He got more thinking, we're just going to grind. We're just going to find a way. For me, he was epitomising the find a way aspect of this more than anyone else on the pitch. Well, maybe him and the captain. I thought that it was the idea that it'll come. You don't need to be impatient. It'll come. There was no daft shots from either of them. There was no Henderson, again, as the game wore on, stopped more ambitious passes and again just made it more, I'm just going to keep shifting the ball and we're going to find somewhere a little crack. For me, that was what he was bringing.
Well, the captain, Henderson and Milner are the two that have been involved in title races. I know Milner's won it, but the Jordan Henderson's went through all this in 13-14 with us. So he knows what, they both know what has to be done, and we said it earlier on the show that there is a belief in this side and what they're doing and how they're going to achieve the win, and they just keep it going, turning the screw. But our two fullbacks both of them were essentially wing backs yesterday. It was the two Sunderland lads. I think it was Watmore. He was pretty much marking Milner rather than it being the other way around. But yeah, that experience is going to be essential if we're going to be challenging for the league. You need players like that.
On that, John, from that point of view, I did notice Watmore, but also Anichebe was effectively, he was shattered because he was constantly having to do shuttles after Nathaniel Klein, and you could see almost about 15 he actually swapped with Defoe. He was absolutely goosed, and that's his job for the day, is look after Nathaniel Klein.
Yeah, they were tracking the fullbacks really well. Actually, it was something that my dad pointed out while we were watching. He was like, they're not getting any kind of space, and I think that's something that we've had a bit of joy from, haven't we? Sort of need to play round the back and then balls into the box, and they were doing that well. But it takes it out of you, and it takes it out of you from an attacking point of view, because if you're Victor and Anichebe, and you're spending a huge amount of time, and Watmore as well, tracking the fullbacks,
loads of energy,
and then suddenly you expected to kind of get up the pitch, and it was very difficult for them, and so it kind of did take it out of them really. And I think both Watmore and Anichebe didn't really show too much from an attacking point of view. There was a couple of times Anichebe got in some dangerous positions, but it just didn't quite happen for him. And I think a big part of that was because they were just so tired because of how much they were being asked to do. So yeah, I thought generally Sunderland did all right. I think I've seen people quite critical of them. I thought he did pretty well. I thought they went about the task, and they had an obvious game plan, and I thought they were executing it pretty well. And I think they might be all right, personally, because I think they've got a bit of a threat to them. They've got a little bit of that, and if you're willing to go and do that against silent Liverpool and get everyone to buy in, which it didn't feel like to me that they had a month or 6 weeks ago. Complete buy-in with the manager, and but seeing them play like that today, and so I'm sure the manager's saying, we nearly got something there, and we won't come up against Liverpool every week.
I think that's really interesting what Gibbo was saying, because I was thinking that this morning, watching some of the post-match reaction, even Joe Klopp saying it's the most defensive side I've ever played. Yeah. And I get what he's saying, because it was very much a 6-4-0 formation for most of the game, and they were sitting quite deep. But I actually thought they showed more attacking intent than Man United did when they came to Anfield. Yeah. They had more chances than United did. They were more of a threat on the break. And I think it was because of that game plan, Joe. Anichebe was impressive in the way he's massive, he holds the ball up. Defoe was always a threat. So I actually think they were I'm with Gibbo. I think that people have been a little bit harsh on them. That wasn't a bad away performance. They didn't just come and say, well, we're just going to sit here and try and get a 0-0. There were times when they could, even in the first half. I mean, we're joking about Karius, but he made a couple of good saves where he came out and closed down their strikers. So
I think that the interesting thing I thought, but it's back to the buying thing, and also, and that'd be harsh on United because I think that there was such a specific game plan from United. The one thing I did think Sunderland did do was there was a clear, right, we're on the break now, lads. Attitude to them. We're on now. We go now.
Yeah.
And I thought you saw numbers of them go at times, and that's when you were thinking we need to be a bit better here. When we win this back now, we need to be better because for the first time for 5 minutes, there's going to be a bit of space because they've just committed 4, maybe even 5 forward. They'll get back as quickly as humanly possible once it goes wrong, but they've committed to that. And I was thinking a couple of times we needed to be a little. That's what one of the areas for improvements. You know, I understand what John's saying before about the speed of passing, but in those moments, that's where we need to be. Right, bang, bang, bang. We're on the edge of your box now. What are you going to do?
Well, that's where I'm sort of comparing it to United because when we were talking about the United game, we were saying that they'd only go to sort of the final third and didn't really show any interest beyond that. And it's because Mourinho's going, well, I'm not exposing us the other way. And that was something that frustrated me yesterday was they're actually, for teams like us at home, they're your best opportunities. And we didn't take any of them. There were loads of times when they had ventured out because they'd had the ball and they attacked us. And there's all of a sudden, there's 5, 6 of their lads ahead of the ball. And we were just too ponderous. When actually, if we'd have sprung quickly, we'd have had them on the back foot.
But then we go on to get our second from essentially Sunderland had to, they had to push out and they had to go for the equaliser. And as soon as they then, as soon as the game opened up because they were after the equaliser, we then hit them on the counter through Manny and get the penalty. But yeah, I agree. I actually thought Sunderland definitely created better chances than United when they came, and I can't remember Karius being forced into a save against United.
This comes back to something that you tried to say before, John, and I think we actually glossed over the point a little bit, is why I think it's a big deal is if you're David Moyes before a match, and if you're Slaven Bilic the next time to come to Anfield in the league, and someone says, all right, it's 1-0 into Liverpool, 5 to go, will you take that at Anfield? And they'll say yeah. But what's massive there yesterday is beginning that process of them thinking, well, you know what, we could then throw the kitchen sink at it and you never know. Whereas, though, because Sunderland did try to throw a bit of the kitchen sink, but we just saw that period out so well. I think that's a major thing to take is that, if you are now watching that in your Slaven Bilic, you're going, you know what, even 1-0 at 85 might not be great. 1, they've sprung them and scored a second, but 2, they couldn't really land a glove on them. And at that stage, and that's why I think that period of play, from a point of view of imagining future opposition managers, is actually going to be significant for us. Yeah,
the problem that Sunderland had on 85 is they just had nothing left in their legs, and so they put such a big shift in from a defensive point of view, and chasing after the ball is much harder than passing it about, and so they put so much in that they didn't have that spring in them. I'm sure part of the game plan, maybe not game plan, but I'm sure Moyes maybe said to them, if we're in it with 5 to go, then then we can have a real go, but the players just didn't seem to have it in them. They just didn't seem to, and we looked at the ones who were more fresh. We looked at the ones who were buoyed by the goal, and we had the spring in the step, and suddenly we could have won that 3-0, which would have been absolutely ridiculous, really, considering the standard of the performance, really. But there was, if that game would have gone on a few minutes more, I'd have fancied us to score again.
But on that, just to go on, Craig.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that's been a theme through this season. I think that teams, coming to the end of the game, because they've been playing a team like us that play with such high intensity, that they're tired out. So they might match us in the first half, but in the second, we always have more than them.
That's why the patience is important, and I think this is where even on 60, when, for instance, there's still, again, I'll use Henderson as an example because they want to start doing it the most. He's just recycling the possession. He's just moving it again. He's just going in, and people might rather him try something more ambitious at times. But my thing on this is, it's making them make another run. It's making them make another sprint. It's making them switch back on. It's making them just do that horrible 5-yard movement that you don't want to do laterally, where you're thinking, me thighs can't take much more of this. And the number of times you come away from a game and someone who sits close to the ground, you'll be having a pint later on, and they'll say, you know what, I think it was Baxley Benjano last night, and he said, I saw Billy Jones. And if you went close to him, you'd think he's delaying taking this throw in to waste a bit of time. And he said that might be the case to a certain extent, but he was also just shattered. Yeah. He just had a minute where he was just stood there trying to breathe, like he was just trying to get some oxygen in his body. And he's trying to take a bit of time out the game, but it's mainly so he can just breathe in and out for a minute. And I think that, when you then, if it is tight on 80 and you've gone through this and you're 1-0 down, the idea that your body can spring into action and go, you know what, lads, I've got 10 more sprints in me. These lads just haven't. That's the sides that we're playing against. They just have not got that.
But there's a second part on top of that as well. That's the physical fitness, but there's also the mental drain of constantly having to be switched on. Where's Firmino? Where's Mane? Who's got him? And by Henderson just doing that, and I do think as the game went on, he got better and better because of that. He stopped lashing the ball in the box, and this comes back to something Craig said earlier, and the United reference of that's how United won loads of games. Yeah. Ferguson would just say to them, honestly lads, with 5 minutes left their heads will go, because there's only so long you can stay switched on to this movement and this passing. And the Craig point, I think, goes back to 13-14 with Henderson. I remember watching the post-match analysis of the Chelsea game, and everyone bangs on about the slip. Everyone forgets how early the slip was. But what happened then was we all lost our heads, and we that day did not play the way we'd played before. Gerrard's taking pot shots from distance, but not moving the ball. Henderson's been a part of that. He's been a part of watching that and the analysis afterwards and going. I remember watching Neville on Sky, and he just kept pointing out Suarez's runs during the last half an hour of that game, and he's going, look at Suarez's movement. Suarez's movement is exactly the same as it has been in every prior game, but they're not getting the ball to him. Because instead of making that switch 5-yard pass to the right and then slipping it into him in the box where he gets to turn Terry or whoever is up against him and slot one in, someone's just having a shot from 30 yards. Someone's panicking. So Henderson's been a part of that, and that's the best way to learn is through experiences. So he can go now, well, I can see that we're better doing this. We're better doing the shift the ball, shift it 5 yards. We'll just keep going until you literally cannot cope with the next run.
And then now all of his teammates have experienced that, so they now all know that's now all more experience for them. That'll serve them well in the rest of this title run.
Last one I want to talk about. I sort of want to talk about the two of them actually, Firmino and Origi, John. Both endlessly willing, and I think that's the first and foremost thing, and I think that Liverpool's best moments in the game are Firmino's best moments in the game. You've said in the past a couple of times that, you know, he's occasionally, and I think it's become less and less the case, but he can sort of decorate a game a little bit at times rather than actually control one. I felt as though he was, in Coutinho's absence, he almost decided himself, it felt second half, he was going to become Liverpool's fulcrum.
Yeah, he was terrific. I thought he was really, really good. His touch is just excellent, isn't it? And it feels like that his teammates are learning that you can just put it to him however you want. You know, you can throw a kitchen sink at him and he'll bring it down and trap it. You know what I mean? And I think they're just kind of learning that it doesn't matter sort of what situation you're in. Just he'll manage to get you out of it. I think his touch is very good. There's obviously awareness of where his teammates are, and very good. And it's funny when Origi comes on and he just switched to the left with them in a fuss. And you know, you people. There's a lot of talk about players' positions and things like that. And are they been played in the right position? Or he's been asked to do a different job. You fancy with Firmino, if there was a sub and then they'd come on and said, "Oh, you need to do left back for a bit." You go, "All right, yes, sound." Yeah. And then you know, but I think he's almost kind of beyond position. Firmino, you know, he just sort of seems to understand or think of football in a different way to I think of lots of other footballers do, and I think he's
completely agree with that.
The way, you know, he thinks about, well, what is it I'm being asked to do, and what is it? How do I contribute to Liverpool winning games? And it doesn't really matter where I'm stood. It's all just grass. I'm just going to be somewhere on this grass doing boss stuff, and I think it's really nice and it's really refreshing, and you can see why Klopp absolutely loves him, and you know he's just a very intelligent footballer, and just a really enjoyable one to watch, but also his teammates must just adore him because, you know, he must have won the ball back 3 or 4 times at least yesterday as well, you know, in terms of, you know, his work rate, but it's not work rate as in just running around and people giving him a clap because, you know, he's run to get the ball and it's just gone out, but nice one anyway. It's you know, it's everything he does is with purpose, and everything he does is to help Liverpool win games of football, and yeah, we are kind of lucky to have him really, and I agree with you that he did feel like he stepped up a bit after Coutinho went off. It was just, I don't know if you could just talk about Manny. I just thought it was dead funny how rubbish he was because last week on one of the shows, someone said something like, Manny can have a bad game, but it's still worth having him there because he creates space for other people. And it was almost like Manny had listened and went, "Oh, that's an interesting theory." I'll give that a go. I wonder if that's true.
And I wonder if he did that. He finished and went, "It is true," because I was there fast at the end and we got a pen. I thought, well,
beyond position, I think it's a really interesting way to phrase it. As John said there, he's almost beyond position. Firmino.
Yeah, I keep making this point of saying I think he's the most underrated player in the league. And every time I say it, I think to myself, I've got no idea whether that's true because I don't know how highly everyone rates him, and I don't watch any other players. So, in my opinion, it sounds like something good to say about him because I don't see people banging on about Firmino in the same way they did about Suarez, for example. And I know he's not as prolific goal scoring wise, but I just think he's a phenomenal footballer. I think he's got absolutely everything. We were talking about this last week. He loves the needle as well. He's dead tough. He's dead strong. He loves the physical battle. But his football ability, he is that, and that's why I think he will miss if he's in a team without Lallana and Coutinho. He misses those two lads because the goal Firmino scored the other week, where I think it was one of the later ones against Watford, where Lallana gets it out wide and just puts one across the face of goal, and Firmino makes a 2-yard run basically and just taps it in. That is those type of goals sort of go unnoticed. And people don't talk about them enough, in my opinion. But they're goals that really clever footballers score because they know where each other's going to move. They know where those little spaces are between the lines. And you saw it yesterday that there was the one where Firmino flashed across goal and there wasn't anyone sort of just running in to tap it in. But that's possibly because, and it's a bit hard, but it's possibly because he's a step ahead of all of his teammates in that situation. Because he's like, this is just where I roll it across and you tap it in. Remember that, lad?
Yeah. We did that in the summer in America.
Yeah. I think on Firmino, I think he. I don't believe opposition managers know exactly how good he is. I think they go into the game and they try and prepare their defenders to deal with him. But I don't think until they've actually played him, it's almost too late before they realise. Yeah. Like you heard Pardew talk about him after Palace the other week and talk about how he's dragging defenders and he's coming deep and he's popping it off and then he's holding it up, he's winning it in the air. He's doing everything that you want from a good number 9, but he's not a number 9. Yeah. And you heard him talk about that, and it was like a glowing report of this player that he'd just watched, and he just had absolutely no idea how to deal with it. And I just feel like at the end of each game, the managers will be going in and all the players will be going into the change room and going, that Firmino's good, isn't he?
Yeah.
But like he's even the way he carries himself, and he's got like a similar pace to Suarez, and the way he sort of weaves and works the defence, it is all very similar. And I know he's nothing in terms of he's not as prolific as you said as Suarez was, but he is that similar, that South American player that just, the needle, like you say. Like I've lost count of how many times this season where he's near his own box to win the ball back, and then he's popping off, and then suddenly he's at the top of the pitch, and it's like it's tiresome watching him. Like I'm tired at the end of it. I've enjoyed it, but I don't know how they deal with that. How you set your defence up to try and deal with him.
I think, sorry, Paul, I was just going to say, I think it's an excellent point about him being under the radar. I think he is. I don't think someone was saying this. WhatsApp group again. I keep mentioning this bloody WhatsApp group. It's not even that good.
Certainly not on the footy.
I think it was Phil Blundell saying, because Phil Blundell lives down in London, and so he speaks to football fans of other teams quite a lot, and he's like, they're just not on Firmino at all,
Yeah.
Like they say, Coutinho's good, innit? It's like, yeah, but his mate's sound as well, they're just not onto it. And I don't think, obviously, the people are scouting and things like that, but it still doesn't seem to me that the football is generally just onto him quite yet, or maybe they are, then they're just kind of not really sure what to do about it.
I think because a lot of what he does, actually, if they're sitting down to watch Match of the Day, if obviously he gets the assists and he gets the goals, but a lot of what makes Firmino great and different to other players is his work rate and the fact that he wins the ball back and he's able to nab it from him. He's just a pain in the arse like the whole time. So I think a lot of that probably doesn't show up in Match of the Day, and we're all sat there in the stadium going, he's boss, isn't he? Like, just get on him today. But they aren't. They've not seen that because they've watched the highlights.
Okay.
Well, there's no Opta staff for that, is there?
Pain in the arse, 9.
Pain in the arse, yeah. 9.
All right. The other thing that was noticeable from yesterday's game was the Rainbow Laces campaign. Henderson, I thought the captain's armband looked great. Yeah. Frankly, I want us to do it every week. I think it looks the business well better than that sober thing with the writing on. I think I'm bang into this. Also, I'd quite like a pair of Rainbow Laces. If anyone's listening, can box me off. But John, it's good to see a genuine effort on this, and it does actually feel like a genuine effort. It doesn't feel like lip service, and it feels like the sort of thing that, I mean, you can't talk for all of them, but ex-players, footballers themselves, they just don't seem bothered by it, and that's why it's and we all know why it remains a thing in 2016, and it really, really strongly shouldn't. But we know why. For instance, if you just look at whenever anyone tweets about it, there's loads and loads of homophobic stuff afterwards, and that's why the campaign's important, and that's why you'd like to see it succeed. And as I say, they can do it every week, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I thought the football clubs have been good, and as you say, it's sometimes it's easy to say, we're just going to do this, but I like that all the clubs tweeted that they were doing it, and then, as you say, that the responses to them are just depressing as hell. But then you're like, well, yeah, it just is right. We're doing it, and it's almost like, I think how it's been done, this Famous campaign. It's almost like, look, we're doing this because it's right, and if you disagree, you're just wrong. And I think that's the kind of attitude they seem to have took on it. And it's no like, there's been no kind of trying to explain it, going, oh, this is why we're doing it, and this is why it's important, and it's been unapologetic. I think how it's been, and I think that's completely the right way, because there's no debate on this. There's no, I see your point of view. If you disagree with it, you're just wrong. And I think that's how football clubs have done it, and I think that's great. And I think do it every week if you want, especially if we keep winning. I'll do anything where we win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit mad. It's necessary. Is what I think. I think it's. I mean, the world we live in is a mad world. Obviously, 2016 I think is a bit of a wind up, but obviously it's a great thing. But the thing I was saying before the match to some people is, it must be mad for all of the gay lads who are playing in Premier League teams right now, if we're standing there going, my captain's wearing a captain's armband there in support of all of this, but I still can't say, I still can't be honest. Which must be really difficult, I think, in that situation, because this is, even when I was younger, I remember thinking this. It's mad, isn't it? How like loads of people are just prepared to believe that there just aren't really homosexual footballers. Like, we've got this many fellas in a place, but none of them are homosexual. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, does it, lads? It just on the sheer weight of numbers, it can't possibly be true. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction to being a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, that one, because there's often, it comes out every now and again, a player might be about to come out as gay, and how would that be received, and so on and so forth, and people say, oh, the PFA and all that sort of stuff. But it might also be that, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to do it, and that's, I think, and that's another part of that. But also there shouldn't be, and I just as you say, John, back to you first on this before we go to Craig. As I say on this, the striking thing for me is, it is this sort of, no, this is just wrong. It's just wrong, and we've got to keep emphasising it and saying it every possible time and place, because as Paul says there, not least because there's literally teammates, there's lads in dressing rooms, and the other lads in the dressing room will know. They will not. They'll know that this is the case, and it must be almost strange for them as well to sort of go, well, my teammate here is not able to express himself or be who he is. Yeah,
I mean, I don't really think about it from a footballer's point of view, though. I mean, I think that there is some of that, but I just think sometimes, imagine being a gay fella going the game, because it's just like, and I think that's kind of, for me, that's one where you think everyone should be welcome to go and watch football, and for a long time it was just loads of white lads, wasn't it? It was like, well, loads of white fellas, really, loads of white fellas going the game, and that's changing, and that's good, because, well, why shouldn't it be open to everyone? And so I think sometimes when you hear someone getting called like a puff or a faggot or something, you think, imagine if you were sat there, if you were gay. Yeah. You'd feel like, I'm not welcome here, you know what I mean? Yeah. This kind of isn't for me. And so I think it's as much about just supportive behaviour and just changing our mindset. And I'm sure sometimes people are doing it without thinking sometimes, but I think sometimes certain football fans can go, well, I'd rather it was just us. I'd rather there was no women. I'd rather, blah, blah, blah. And, but it's just stupid, and it's wrong, because like, football's brilliant, and everyone should be able to enjoy it. And so I think that for me was as much the message, really. Look, if a gay player wants to come out, and then great, fantastic. If they don't, then that's kind of up to them. And some people are just private, as aside from any of that. But I think in terms of inclusivity, I think it's just getting to the stage where anyone can feel like, yeah, I can go and watch that. I can go and watch. I'm from Liverpool. I can go and watch my football team, and I don't have to worry about, well, am I the right sort of person?
It's sad to even think, though, that a footballer in 2016 would have to keep that sort of thing bottled up. And you saw Thomas Hitzlsperger come out, and I think he came out as soon as he retired. If I'm right in saying he retired, and then he came out, and I think he said that he didn't feel as a player he'd be able to, let that sort of thing come out while he was, while he's still in the spotlight, and that's terribly sad. I think it'll take courage for one gay footballer to come out for others to then feel like, well, he's been able to do it and it's been sound, so why can't I? I hope anyway.
Okay. That was the Anfield Wrap. Huge thank you to Paul, John and Craig for coming in this Sunday morning to get this done. When the fixtures begin to come thick and fast with Leeds on Tuesday, you've got to start making these hard decisions, these hard calls, and pulling things together a little bit earlier. Easier, blah, 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 I don't even know what I'm saying. Listen, we're doing these... we're doing these three...
You were just sawing your head out, weren't you?
Yeah, I really was.
Sawing and just sawing your head out. We've got Leeds on Tuesday, and what do we need? You started thinking about what you needed to do.
I'm trying to put my Tuesday plan together. It's quite complex, John.
Do you know what? I was in the pub last night and we'd all had a few bevies and then we'd all chat and we were talking about Neil and we said, thing is though, he's just a natural, isn't he? Like he never falls over his words already, like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely not. It is.
I've just realised as well, I've got my stamp from Flares on my hand still there.
Excellent, good man.
Yeah.
Good man. I've still got the vaguest stamp of a T Street thing, which shows how slovenly my living is.
No, they were industrial, them. I was
Unreal.
scraping me on for ages.
Unreal. Just wanted to say we've got these 3, 6 and 12 month subscriptions that you can buy for people as a gift on the site for Christmas. Any friends of yours who support Liverpool or anything like that, you think that they might be interested in that, you know, there's tons of shows this week. There's about 12 or 13 shows this week that are on the Tour Player subscription service. 3, 6 and 12 months. What I'd say is, if you're thinking, you know what, I might just get that for myself, if you can hang on until January, it'll make our lives a little bit easier with the admin. So if you can just sort of stick with it as it is, and we will be getting it sorted out for other stuff, but we've been working really hard to get it sorted out for this. So if, as a gift, it'd be fantastic. If you know someone who'd like it for 3, 6 or 12 months, if you'd like to do that, that'd be absolutely marvellous. But listen, thank you to Paul, thank you to John, thank you to Craig, thank you to the mighty boys in red, thank you to Jordan Henderson and James Milner and Divock Origi and Loris Karius, not least for the laughs. Thanks to Joel Matip, thanks to all of these lads, and not least thanks to Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool find themselves only 1 point behind Chelsea. It's 13 games, it's a third of the way through. Good Lord, 2 more thirds of this, I don't know if we'll all survive it.